Hi, Chippies. Beth Gordon with the Chippewa Ranch Camp Alumni Association. Hope everybody's plans for summer are coming along fabulously, and we hope to see you August 19th through 22 at Alumni Camp. I am thrilled to have a conversation with Julie Samuels today. Julie and I have been chatting for the last, 30 minutes and decided it's about time we record. So hi, Julie.
Hi, Beth. Thanks for having me. I wish we were really sitting at the Center Fire Circle having this conversation.
Right, with a cocktail or 12? Wouldn't that be great?
With a cocktail or 12. We could throw key logs. We could make s'mores.
August 19th, just saying. So Julie, you have an amazing resume. I've so enjoyed learning a little bit more about you, even though you and I've tried to meet in New York and it just never got it to happen, but that day will come. Tell us, when were you at camp?
I was at camp my first summer was 98, and I was there for 10 summers. So I guess my last summer was probably 1997, that means, right? If I do the math.
Something like that. That sounds right. And you have an older sister who was at camp too.
A younger sister. I have a younger sister who did 11 summers. So she beat me by one. Her name is Lauren Samuels Bennett. I'm sure many people know her. And between us, we have 5 boys. We have no girls to go to Chippewa. No, we have male staff maybe, but no.
It's okay. We'll forgive you. That's okay. It's okay. It happens. So tell us about your current career and how long have you been doing this?
So I started and I run an organization called Tech NYC. I'm in New York City. And I launched the organization, which is a nonprofit, about just over 5 years ago, 5 years this month, actually. And what it is we have about 800 members, mostly tech companies and tech investors. The biggest tech companies are members: Google, Facebook, Amazon, hundreds of tiny, small startups, and then everything in between. A bunch of tech companies here in New York that folks have probably heard of, companies like Warby Parker, Harry's, the razor company, they're all Tech NYC members. And what we do is we come together and we work to help make sure that New York City is a good place to build and grow tech companies. So that usually means a lot of political stuff. We work with the mayor, we work with the governor, the city council, the state legislature. Sometimes we work with them, sometimes we fight with them, but we're really engaged in what the kind of laws look like around building companies here. And increasingly, we do more and more work to bring the companies to bear to help support New York and New York City more specifically. And how I kind of think about this is the tech industry is obviously growing really rapidly. You know, sometime in the next decade, it's probably going to be one of the, if not the biggest industry in New York. And so we're thinking a lot about what that looks like, when these companies kind of plug into the city around them, how that changes the city, how that helps the city, sometimes how that hurts the city, and kind of what does that all look like? So it's fascinating work.
So, okay, let's talk about a transition here. You went to law school. You were an attorney.
I went to law school. I used to be a lawyer. I am not a lawyer anymore. I actually love talking about this too, because I think that a lot of people go to law school and there's kind of, there's a path. There are a couple paths that most people take. And I think that law degrees actually open up the world of possibilities, but sometimes possibilities are hard to see. So I went to law school. I moved back to Chicago. I was a lawyer there for just under 5 years. I had a lot of fun working at the law firm, but it wasn't for me. And so I left and I moved to San Francisco, where I knew one person, my cousin, who went to Chippewa for 2 years. I think like maybe 89 or maybe like early 90s. She was the only person I knew in the whole city. And I got a job working for a nonprofit called the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is kind of like the ACLU for the internet, really thinking about civil liberties online, thinking about freedom of speech online, thinking about how the internet works. So my whole career, I've cared a lot about how technology changes how we all live. So I moved there, and I have to say, like, knowing how to be a camper makes the process of moving across the country, knowing no one, a lot easier. And
Sure.
I actually think I probably wouldn't have done that had I not had a lot of the skills I learned at Chippewa about being a human. But we can probably circle back to that.
Oh, we'll circle back.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that. So I was in San Francisco. I had this job. It was a great job. It was like was a dream job. It was such a fun job. And so I was still a lawyer there, but I was doing a lot of work. It's called impact litigation. We would work on cases that we thought would shape the law, how we thought the law should be. So, you know, it was all pro bono. Our clients didn't pay anything. And it was really, really interesting. But I learned there that I actually didn't love being a lawyer, which is what the work was. And what I really loved was working on the issues I cared about in Washington, D.C., for instance, with members of Congress, with senators, thinking about how we shape the laws. And I found that I liked that work better, that I was better at it. It came much easier to me. And so I eventually left that job. I ran another nonprofit called Engine. I was still living in San Francisco, that worked with small startups on a lot of issues that startups cared about, but in DC. So I would commute from San Francisco to DC frequently. And then I got pregnant with my oldest son. We moved to New York City. I had lived here after college, before law school, moved back to New York City. And then I started Tech NYC, and here I am.
That's amazing. Now I have to admit, I have to ask, tell me about the Mark Cuban chair to eliminate stupid patents. I'm sorry, you piqued my interest on that one.
This was when I worked at EFF, and my job was, I worked a lot on patent policy. And, you know, patents, kind of intellectual property, it's how people protect inventions, particularly in the software space. Software patents are, I would argue, really abused, issued way too frequently, used to shut down competitors when there should just be more competition in the market. And so this is the issue that I worked on that really kind of piqued my interest in policy work and in political work. So we worked really hard to try and get some of the patent laws changed so that people couldn't abuse those laws as much. And Mark Cuban supported that work and gave me that title, which I have to tell you, when I found out that Mark wrote a nice check to EFF, and I thought it would just be like the Mark Cuban chair for patents or whatever. And he demanded that it was the Mark Cuban chair to eliminate stupid patents. And I was horrified. I felt like I had been working so hard to have this career and be taken seriously as a woman, and no one was going to take me seriously. And I had this ridiculous title, and I was totally wrong. And Mark was totally right. And in 2012, the Wall Street Journal called it possibly the best new job title of 2012. And it just blew up. It was everywhere. And it was great. It gave me also a level of confidence that I think helped my career a lot. Because whenever I would speak publicly, or, you know, I've testified before Congress a few times, and you can introduce yourself with this crazy title and everyone giggles, and then the ice is broken. And I think it changed my career, and it changed the trajectory of that issue. We did really good work substantively on patent reform, which I think is probably a little dry and boring for a lot of people. If anyone wants to talk about it, you can email me separately. But I think it changed the trajectory.
That's amazing. That's really impressive. And let's talk about, sort of, before we kind of continue on with some of the other questions, when you're testifying in Congress and you're doing all that you're doing, are you one of the few female in the room? Are there other women?
Yeah. You know, sometimes oftentimes I'm the only woman. I've testified in Congress 3 times, twice in the Senate and once in the House.
I just kind of got goosebumps. That's really very exciting, because you're still relatively young in your career, and being being, you know, one of the few women in the room. That's amazing. And I would say to, you know, anybody young who's listening to this, who's trying to determine what they want to do, going to college or post-college, to have this conversation with you, especially how you made the transition from lawyer to nonprofit. Yeah. It's pretty amazing and fulfilling, I would imagine.
Yeah, you know, there were a couple moments in particular. I guess it was probably the last time I testified. No, one of the times I testified. I had a 7-week-old or an 8-week-old baby, and I was still pumping, and I had to I stored the breast milk in a fridge in Chuck Schumer's office, and afterwards I had to run and pump. I mean, I can talk about this as camp, right? I had to run and pump, and then take the milk back on the Amtrak to New York City after I went out and had lunch and 3 glasses of wine. I was like, this is crazy town. And I didn't fit in any of my suits. and I had to like cobble together an outfit. And yeah,
It's a great memory.
Story.
And it's a great story. You can blame on your son and just sort of remind him. I plumbed in Chuck Schumer's office.
And had to like store the milk. Yeah,
store the milk in Chuck Schumer's office. So tell us about where you went to school.
I went to Illinois for undergrad, which was super fun, from what I remember. And
yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then I after college, I worked 1 year in Washington, D.C., 1 year in New York, and then I went back to law school. I went to Vanderbilt in Nashville, which was really a blast. It was so fun.
From what
I
you
remember that a
remember.
lot more. From what I remember that more, but it was also more recent. Also, people in the South, there was a lot of beer consumed in law school, which was great. And yeah, that was all wonderful. It was super fun.
So tell us about a typical day. What does your typical day look like? 2 young boys,
well,
and then
yeah. So okay, I guess a typical day in COVID times, right? Because this is not my normal office. This used to be my 3-year-old's bedroom. He now shares we live in Manhattan on the Upper West Side, so we have an apartment here. My little one, now they share a bedroom, and this is like half of his stuff, like a desk type thing, and like a Peloton, and now it's my room.
Are you aware that we have a Peloton Chippy hashtag for Peloton?
No.
Hello, you must join us, Peloton Chippies.
Oh my God. Can you? I was gonna do it right now, but I'll do it as soon as we're done talking.
Yeah, there's like 30 of us on the group, Peloton Chippies.
Well, actually, this morning I happened to wake up early and get on the bike, that is not a normal occurrence. That's not a normal day. The one thing actually I think for women who work a lot, and in normal non-COVID times, and increasingly now, my job requires that I go out a ton. I have events, I have dinners, I have happy hours. I could go out 5 nights a week. I don't 5 nights a week, so I would not see my kids, but I do in normal times. I'm out 2 to 3 nights a week. So I think I feel pretty strongly about this. I think we do a real disservice to women who work a lot because we don't talk about all the help we have. And for me to work as much as I work in a city where we have, neither my parents nor my husband's parents live here. We don't have grandparents here. Mm-hmm. We don't have aunts and uncles. It takes a lot of help. I have a nanny, I have babysitters. It's the only way I can string it all together. It's been a little bit easier, obviously, during COVID, but I think we don't talk about this enough. And I think it's does a real disservice to people.
Too.
Yeah, I think if you just go to someone's Instagram, you'd think their lives were perfect. And like my kids always are like wearing cute outfits and I've got my shit together. Like, no. The only reason my children are like fed and dressed during is because someone else helps me do that.
No question. We have, people have heard me talk about this. I have 2 sets of twin grandkids, boy, girl. They're 12 and 8. And for a while, our daughter had 4 under 4. I mean, oh my God, I don't care who you are, without help, you're not doing a whole lot of good for anybody. It goes without saying. Are you the employee, or do you have other employees?
Yeah, I have a team. Yeah. We're usually around 5 or 6 or 7. We're doing some hiring right now. So we have a team. Great. Everyone's working from home right now. So my typical day. So I wake up, but I hang out with my kids in the morning, but I have people here helping. I also have a dog, a giant dog,
of course,
named Daily after the mayor's. And so thank you. Before COVID, I would take her for long walks by myself every morning in Central Park, which was like the only thing that kept me sane. Now our schedule's a little different, and I take my oldest son to school and I bring her with because drop off is outside because of COVID. It's actually great. All the little kindergartners run over. They love her. She's like the class mascot. It's super cute. And then I come back home and I work all day. And during COVID, that's really it. I mean, in normal times, I'd go to my office then and I would have a lot of meetings. I'd be in, I'd be out, I'd be running around. Here now, I sit here a lot. And then that's it.
Jump on the Peloton on occasion.
And then I go out. But there have been, for instance, I make it a point pretty much the whole year. I would try and see at least one person I don't live with a week outside. Like once a week,
Nice.
I would try and see someone I don't live with outside.
Nice.
And the good news is in New York City, like all the restaurants were open. There were heat lamps, except for the coldest of weeks. I would try and do that because that would keep me sane. The Peloton kept me sane. I'd ride it in the middle of the day sometimes just because
Oh yeah.
I'm used to being out and about so much. And then I wasn't. And I felt like I had to like burn some energy, if nothing else.
Completely understand that.
That's a day.
Okay,
And then on the
Ren-
weekends, I do, I'm with my, on the weekends, we don't have help. I'm with my family. And
That's
sometimes it looks
wonderful.
like watching TV and eating popcorn at 10 in the morning, and I don't care.
Oh, right.
No.
Anyone who judges, bye-bye.
Bye.
So,
Yeah.
okay, favorite Peloton instructor?
Okay, well, it's a tough question. Lately, it depends what mood I'm in because I usually choose by the music, but I
Right.
think probably Jen Sherman because
Same.
I'm probably not the only Chippy mom who says that. I mean, she talks about her kids going to camp and she talks about her going to camp.
Oh, please. We
So
get up. She does a ride on Sunday mornings at 6:30 West Coast time. We're
yeah,
on
you
it.
get up for that. That's
Just
amazing.
saying. So, all right. See, I can digress and talk about Peloton forever. Was there a certain experience at camp that, you kind of touched on that you wouldn't have moved to San
Yeah.
Francisco had you not have had the experience?
Yeah,
How has
God, there's so
camp
many.
really, yeah,
I mean,
tell us
camp
about that.
absolutely shaped who I am, probably more than any other experience growing up. I mean, I think going away to camp and then being, going away and having to be your own person and form your own relationships with other people without your parents there is, I mean, I can't imagine a more important experience for growing up. More formative experience teaches you, I think, to build confidence. It teaches you how to be your own person. You can kind of like try things on, emotionally because you're kind of like out on your own, but it's safe. And so I'm so grateful. I mean, we were talking, there's so many unique experiences. I could not possibly think of one, but we were talking before we started recording about how I was Grand Sachem and we lost Pony Express and lost the year. And that was terrible. I mean, I was so distraught, but we did win Songfest. It was Jeannie Tan's, which I am told is still sung. And I'm super happy about that. But we lost the year. We lost Pony Express. We couldn't find the freaking watermelon. And, camp teaches you to be resilient,
Yes.
I guess maybe not that resilient because we're still talking about it like 30 years later, more than 30 years later. But I mean, truly, it teaches you have these experiences and those are like adult emotions. Those are real emotions of disappointment and of pride and of excitement. And those things, they all happen, but you experience them and you learn how to accept them. And in that case, how to move on,
Well, and as Grand Sachem, the pressure's on you to be respectful of the winners because you've got the younger kids looking up to you and we're all hysterical. Listen, I was there at camp when in the era where the whites like never won anything and I was a white and it was always the tans. It was like, why are we even doing Barnyard Bedlam is what we, why? We're not going to win. Songfest, great, we'll show up and we'll do it, but
we had some rough years. There was a dark time for the tans in the early 90s when I was there. So I can empathize with that. But in late 80s, I should say. But I think that like camp teaches you those things. And a lot of those things, when you talk about them, like, oh, tan and white, but the emotions are real. And the experiences and your reaction to them, they're completely real. And it teaches you how to be your own person.
The leadership part, when I think about, because I've always managed large teams and learning how to manage different people was really something you learn living in a cabin with others. And in some years it was 5 us, 6 of us in a cabin or 20 of us in a cabin and really navigating personalities and athleticism and didn't care about water skiing or sailing, but still embracing them and something we didn't do so well younger, but we appreciate now as older.
Yes.
Not that I would ever use the word mature, but
no.
No.
It teaches you how to do those things. It teaches you how to get out of your comfort zone. I think it's so important. I can't wait to send my kids to camp.
Oh, it's just
fortunately it will not be Chippewa, but
all right, again, we're not going to hold you responsible for that. Yeah. So any advice for people early in their career, young Chippies listening or Chippies that are in high school or college, any advice you have for them?
Yeah, listen, I think that, one thing is don't be shy. I mean, this sounds so trite. I'm sure a lot of people give advice like this, but you put yourself out there. Like camp teaches you those skills. Send emails, and on the one hand, put yourself out there and ask for help, and then don't be offended. Don't take it super personally. Like, for instance, there are times when I'm super busy. There are times when I'm less busy, and people will, just by way of example, people will email and ask career advice or support. People I don't know, strangers will find my email address or say someone.
Wow.
And I always try and respond, but sometimes I just don't, because I'm so busy and my kids need me and this thing is happening. And then I feel guilty forever. But like, the fact that I didn't respond is not personal. And the advice I would give people, which is such hard advice, especially for young women, I think, well, I mean, for me, this is still hard for me, and I'm not a young woman anymore, is like, don't take it personally. Try again, move on to the next thing, try and put yourself for just a minute, again, my own experiences, there are like 8 million people who need my time every day. And I try and respond to those, but sometimes I just don't. And it's not because I don't want to. So trying to remember, like, put yourself in whoever else's shoes it is, even if it's like a senior person, and don't beat yourself up over it, but instead put yourself out there, keep putting yourself out there, and eventually one of those things will catch.
That's just absolutely great advice. And something that I want you to talk about, because I'm just like kind of crawling out of my skin to learn more about it, is tell us about New York Forever.
Yes. So I'm part of a group of people who started another nonprofit organization. This is a side project. I'm just on the board. This is not a job, called New York Forever, which we launched during the summer, in the fall. And doesn't time.
I know, where are we?
I literally have we launched it. New York Forever. I literally can't even tell you when we launched it. It's an organization where we pulled people together to support New York's recovery post-COVID. Where the idea is we're really trying to engage all kinds of New Yorkers to support organizations that help regular New Yorkers. We've raised a ton of money, for instance, for an organization called ROAR, which supports restaurant workers. We raised a bunch of money for an organization called Welcome to Chinatown after there was a bunch of violence, against Asian folks here. And you can check it out. We have a great Instagram presence at New York Forever. We've done like some really fun merch drops with Alex Mills and Jeff Staple, and that's what kind of drives a lot of the energy. But the thing so anyway, that's been great. It's been great. It's been great to be able to put energy during this time thinking about recovery, especially because I mean, the impacts of COVID have been, I think, really, some people, my life has been fine. I mean, it's terrible to live during a global pandemic, but my family's healthy and safe and fine.
Certainly.
And so many people are really, really hurting. And how can we try and give back and make it better for folks? All kind of moral, what's the word I'm looking for? Like all of the traits that I learned at camp, by the way.
Sure.
How to think of others and how to try to contribute. But this is not public yet, but I think, it's fine. We are launching this amazing summer program that we're raising a bunch of money to send hundreds of New York City public school students to day camp in New York. These kids who have just kind of called the summer camp project. These kids who've been inside, they've been on Zoom school. There wasn't a lot of school this year. It's been really hard, obviously, for a lot of people. And we got to get those kids to camp. So that is something I'm spending a lot of time on right now. I'm super excited about.
So I think the most obvious question that comes to mind is, how do we clone you and put what you do in every other major city here in the US? It's absolutely amazing what you are doing on the nonprofit side.
Yeah, it's been fun. I feel, my feeling in general is just, I always feel like I wanted to do something interesting. Mm-hmm. That was it. I didn't have like much, none of this was planned. I just wanted to do something interesting. And I will tell you, I'm never bored.
I would imagine you're not bored.
I could use a nap, but I'm never bored.
Oh, well, you'll sleep in, 18 years. It's coming, Julie. Just not yet. I found that giving back is so amazing. One day a week, I volunteer at a Stables here in Southern California, where we work with children with physical and emotional disabilities. And I'm only 5 feet tall. So I get to work with the children by default because I'm not tall enough to work with adults. If they start falling off the horse, I can't do it. I didn't pass the test.
Did you ride at camp?
I did. That's the whole reason I went to Chippewa, because it was a horseback riding camp and I was a horseback
riding
person. Yeah.
I was so afraid of the horses.
Oh my gosh, I
when I was
absolutely love
there.
them. Just love it. And these
I
horses
wouldn't
are
be
trained.
now,
No, you
but I
can't be.
was
They're such
then.
wonderful beings. They really are. But
Once my
something that we
parents
learn
bribed
at
me, they
camp.
bought me rollerblades. They bought me rollerblades if I tried riding a horse once at camp. That's true.
How'd that go?
I rode once, one time. But it's not to distract from the giving back piece is crucial.
It's amazing, and especially for those that just don't have the opportunity or that really need that help. And that's something that we've learned at camp as kids, how
Yes.
to give back and how fortunate we were and how do we share that experience with
That's right.
those who aren't. I think it's wonderful what you're doing. And for anybody listening, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you, Julie?
Yes. So you can just email me. My email is, I'll give you my Gmail, I think. So you can find me I'm very easy to find on the internet. I'm very online, as the kids say. I'm very online. I'm Julie P. Samuels at Gmail. The organization is technyc.org. So I'm also Julie at technyc.org.
Wonderful.
You can find my information anywhere, and you should totally email me. If anyone's going to be in New York, I'm always looking for babysitters. My kids are pretty well behaved. I especially would love Chippy babysitters. But Chippewa is the best. He's the best. So
It really kind of sort of is. I mean, we're really lucky.
So
No
lucky to
denying
have had that experience.
And share it and pass it on with everybody else in our sort of network. It's actually quite wonderful. Julie, thank you for your time.
It was
And
so
hopefully when you find a few more times, you can join us back on the alumni board when you have more time. We'd love to have you.
I'll be back. I will be back. I have
keep doing what you're doing though. You're doing amazing things.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Beth.
Of course. And I look forward to seeing you so very soon.
Yeah, I got to get back up to Chippewa soon. Yeah.
You absolutely do. We'll have a wonderful holiday weekend.
Thank you. You too.
And enjoy your time with babysitter tonight and out with friends.
I hope so. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.